Hey guys, it's Kyle Hunter here doing a solo show here for Better Odds Sports Betting. Usually it's myself and Kiev and a couple guests or a guest. I'm just going to try this out myself here for the first time. So bear with me here as we go live and try to talk about some of these conference tournaments and some of the games that are coming up. I want to talk to you about some angles that I think could be profitable, things that bettors should be paying attention to here. This is a big time of the year for sports bettors, obviously. And before I get started, I want to say if you have any questions about games, drop them in the chat. I'm willing to talk about anything. No games are blocked, in my opinion. No game too small, no game too big. I'll give you my opinion on whatever it is. So as we go forward here, I want to talk first about some of the line moves here for today, and then talk about some conference tournament futures that I think could have some value. And then we'll take a quick look at tomorrow. We'll just do this here pretty quick. Like I said, any questions you have, drop them in the chat box, and I'll try to go over that game. So for today, a few games that stand out to me here today. First of all, we look later in the day here at those Conference USA games, Rice and Marshall, Middle Tennessee State, and North Texas. I did want to point out that that unique setup with the two games going on at once and Conference USA has really tended to make games go under the total. So one way I want to look at this is I look to live bet these games under the total if you can. I want to see if somebody comes out hot to think that they're likely to cool down a bit, maybe take a second half under if it's high at halftime. Full game unders here, I certainly lean toward the full game unders. I do have to say, it's hard to take an under with a game Marshall and Rice because you know what kind of tempo that game will be played at. So, we'll see if any of those end up being an aberration. But in general, the Conference USA games to go under the total has been a really good way to look. As far as some of the other games here today, Minnesota and Northwestern. Northwestern, a favorite here, is pretty interesting because Minnesota has played bad enough at the end of the season. They look like an NCAA tournament team. Now they've played bad enough at the end of the season that Minnesota is actually an underdog to Northwestern. Northwestern hadn't won a game in a long time and then won, a few right at the end of the season. That's a game that I'd rather bet Northwestern if I had to bet it, but I don't have to bet it, and I don't think I'm going to bet Northwestern in that one. One other thing I wanted to say, first half unders at Madison Square Garden. I don't know if you guys were aware of this or not, but neutral site games at Madison Square Garden, the first half under is 80-46 in the last 126, 63.5% under. So you're seeing a Marquette Georgetown game that's going to go under in the first half that's going on right now, unless something crazy happens. We know crazy things happen in sports betting. So unless they get red hot at the end of the half, that one's going under the total. DePaul and Providence later, first half under, certainly my lean. Butler and Xavier, the same thing. So if you like looking for first halves only, one way you can do that is it lets you avoid the late foul fest and the late possibility of an overtime. Some of those games could be pretty close. So first half unders at Madison Square Garden, probably a good way to look. So look for spots for that. As we go forward with the conference tournaments too, I think that in the MAC is a really interesting conference tournament to me. I like Bowling Green as an underdog here, plus 1,000. The best price I've seen on this is a future. I know that Bowling Green plays a tough game in their first one against Akron. They could clearly lose that game. They'll be a slight underdog in that one. But Bowling Green is a team that has a very high upside. They were favored to win the conference in the beginning. Justin Turner, probably the most talented player in this conference. I like Bowling Green as an underdog there. So Bowling Green, moneyline rollover, if you can't get plus 1,000, also a good look for me. If you don't know what a moneyline rollover is, you just take the money line, you take it again in the next game. And if you want to hedge, instead of hedging out of a future, either bet less or you stop betting. So if you bet 100 to win, 150, then you get 250. You only take part of that bet and then you keep rolling. So to me, that's a good opportunity to look to go moneyline rollover if you can't get the plus 1,000 on Bowling Green. Another conference tournament that I like a moneyline rollover on is Oregon in the Pac-12. Oregon was plus 310 at FanDuel earlier in the week. Now Oregon, the price, plus 180, plus 200. just a big difference there in price. Moneyline rollover is going to be better than a plus 200 ticket. So if you can't get something like plus 240 or plus 250, I like Oregon on a moneyline rollover in the Pac-12. If they get to the final game, you don't really like them in the final game, you can just stop betting. So put something there on Oregon in the Pac-12. Dana Altman's been a really good moneymaker late in the season. Oregon had a lot of injuries and COVID issues, but they're finally healthier now. So I think they're peaking at the right time. They're a team that I'd want to bet on. As far as other conference tournaments, the Big Ten's wide open. To me, I don't see anybody in the Big Ten that stands out as a way better than the rest of them. I know Michigan and Illinois are the best teams there. I think Ohio State, a team that, I'm sitting in an office where everything's Ohio State. I love Ohio State, but I don't think Ohio State's upside is the same as some of those other teams. I did say I thought Ohio State was overrated here on the show a few weeks ago. I wish I'd been betting against them, and that would have been nice. I'm not against betting against Ohio State, but Ohio State's still a team that's a quality team with Holtmann as their coach. But at the same time, they're not an excellent team with the high upside that Illinois or Michigan has. Illinois at plus 300 or better, I like in this tournament if you have to take something as far as the future, or you can take them on a money line rollover as well. So Big Ten, I think, should be very competitive games. We'll see some overtime games in that one. It's also not a gym that you would think would be a great under arena compared to some of the others. So we want to look for the under gyms such as Madison Square Garden. Even Bridgestone Arena, where the SEC tournament is being played, has been a very good under arena. So pay attention to that as we go forward, because I do think that Bridgestone could once again be a pretty good under arena as we go forward this year. So as far as specific games here for tomorrow's card, things that I'm looking for, since the lines are just popping here at Bet Online, we see Kent State +2, 149 against Ohio. Bowling Green and Akron is pick'em, which is interesting. So this speaks volumes to the fact that Bowling Green is plus 1,000. Akron is plus 400 or 500, and the game is set at pick'em. So if you like a future in this tournament, it's hard to not like a price on Bowling Green here. Bowling Green not getting the respect they deserve, a team with a very high upside. So I think that speaks volumes about that. Seton Hall and St. John's, a game I wanted to talk about. Like I said, this is at Madison Square Garden, as we know, the Big East. So here's a conference where I expect there to be a lot of low-scoring games, especially first halves. We just talked about the under in the first half at Madison Square Garden. Seton Hall, to me, is a team that has been very good in this Big East Conference tournament in the past. If you're taking a flyer on a team in the Big East, I think Seton Hall is probably a pretty good one to look for, because Kevin Willard's teams have been very good here in this Big East Conference tournament. I know they're not coming into this in good form, but this is a Seton Hall team that still, I believe, has a pretty high upside. We look down through the board. Oklahoma State, West Virginia, I lean over in a game like that, but the game starts at 11:30 in the morning. You guys know, I bet a lot of totals. That's what I'm most successful with over the years. I don't like taking early game overs very much because, it's kind of off the schedule for guys. And that game's 11:30 Eastern. It'd be 10:30 local time for them. So pretty early start to that game. Speaking of early starts, Ball State Toledo's at 11 a.m. We saw that really early start today, and the Big Sky just fly right over the total. That's going to happen less often than you see unders and things like that. So try to remember that for future as well. As far as other games coming up tomorrow that I would look for, Montana State and Idaho State. I think Montana State -2 there is worth a look. Montana State, a team that I took a future on plus 1,600 to win the Big Sky. Just a team that I feel like is capable of upsets here. This is Big Sky is pretty wide open. I think Eastern Washington is the favorite there, and they are favorite for a reason. So, I think Eastern Washington is clearly the highest upside team. But, to me, Montana State plus 1,600 worth a grab if you can find that price. That was at MGM where it was 1,600. So down the rest of the board, I like New Mexico State to win the WAC if you can get plus 250 or better. I think New Mexico State still has really high upside. This is a team that has kind of struggled in the past, and they've had a season that it'd be easy for them to give up on this season because they've had to travel all over the place just to play their games. But they're the most talented team in the conference. They have a really good coach, and they only have to win 3 games. There's no great team in this conference. So I like New Mexico State there. I think a money line rollover would do fine as well. Problem with the money line rollover in this situation is they're -10 in their first game. So you can't bet too much on the money line in that first game, because if they happen to get upset, and that would hurt you quite a bit. So I like them a bit there in that one. Nevada and Boise State should be a great game tomorrow. Boise -4 here. I don't know that I trust Boise laying a number away from home. So my lean is Nevada in that one. And Nevada 25-1 to win that conference tournament. I think that's worth a look as well. So, some of those games that stand out to me, we'll be back with a Better Odds Sports Betting here later this week with a guest, and Kiev will be with me for that one. But stay tuned here as we go forward. I'm going to be doing more videos here. Kiev will be doing some videos here as well by himself. We'll do more videos together. Next week, we should be able to have multiple shows as we get ready for March Madness. My favorite week of the year really is a sports fan, not just a sports bettor, but also a fan. I love this time of the year. I think it's, excellent, for fans and for bettors. There's just so much going on. So to me, we don't get much better time of the year than this to go over values. I love looking at these conference tournament futures. I like to look for things like Sweet 16 futures value. We'll see if we can find some of that next week. But later this week, we'll have some games to talk about coming up for Saturday as well. So stay tuned. We'll have a lot coming up. Like I said, a couple things that I gave out here earlier if you weren't here. Bowling Green and the MAC at +1,000. I took that one. I like Oregon on a money line rollover in the Pac-12 or +250 if you can get that on a futures price. I don't like +180. It's not a good enough price. Also, Madison Square Garden first half unders, 80-46 when Madison Square Garden is a neutral court in the postseason. So these have been money makers, 63.5%. It's something that I think will continue to be a moneymaker as we go forward. Marquette, Georgetown looking like an under there in the first half in the first game at the Big East. And like I said, then that way you can kind of get rid of the chance of fouling and overtime, because we know the end of these games can be pretty crazy. So specifically some of the games that I like to look for tomorrow as well. Like I said, I think I kind of like Montana State -2 against Idaho State. These are on initial looks. I haven't done deep dives into these games. Some of the others that stand out to me, looking for some unders at Boardwalk Hall and the MAC, maybe St. Peter's under. We'll look at some of those other games closer, and we'll see what ends up being premium plays for myself. But I like to look for unders in conference tournament time on these neutral courts. I think in the long term, you're going to do well on those. And also, you probably want to bet the under early rather than late, because the line usually moves in that direction. So hope everybody's having a great week, and we'll be back soon with another Better Odds Sports Betting. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.